Okay, now before we get into the video of how to configure the Foxtrot radio dial with FlightSim 2024, we need to cover a couple of the button layouts. So when looking at the radio dial, you're going to see there's a nav2, nav1, comm1, and comm2. When I turn that dial head with the red indicator to nav2, we are telling the system activate input number 20. When I turn that dial to nav1, activate input number 21. COM1, number 22, COM2, number 23. This is important because as we turn this dial, think of it as our selector. What are the things we want to alter? Do I want to alter COM1, COM2, nav1? Okay. The other thing to note is when I turn the outside dial counterclockwise, so in essence turning it this way, that is indicating button 25. So if I have nav1 selected and I'm turning this dial counterclockwise, in essence, button 21 plus button 25 should equal a decrease in my nav1 frequency. And therefore, if I choose this one, COM1, that'd be button 22, and button 25 indicates a decrease in COM1 frequency. When turning it clockwise, that's button 24, so that'd be an increase. And then lastly, pressing the button itself is number 26. I typically use that for swap. So if I have the dial selecting nav1 and I press it, it swaps inactive with active frequencies for nav1. Final piece is this button right here, button 17. This is kind of my shift key. So similar to on a keyboard when you hold shift and then all letters will be capitalized, I do something similar with button 17. When I'm changing any of these comms or navs, turning the dial, I set it up so that I'm changing the whole frequency, the number before the decimal point. When I hold down 17, it prioritizes the numbers after the decimal or the fractional frequencies. It's going to make a little bit more sense in about a minute when we dive into how to configure it, but it is important to know what changing of the dial will do, what pressing the button will do, and as we turn the outside dial, those settings there, as well as my shift key. So I'm going to mention that in a few seconds, and I'm also going to have this graphic visible as we configure, but just wanted to give a little bit more of a deep dive on what the button layouts are for these keys right here. Okay, so here we are in a Cessna 172 engine running, and I like this because we have a Garmin 530 and 430 that makes it crystal clear what we're editing. So the first thing I like to do is go up to our camera controls, and let's go to instrument, I think it's instrument 3, nope, instrument 2, and this is going to give us a great view of what we're editing here. So as I move my camera around just a little bit, here we have the 530 and 430. We're working on COM1, nav1, COM2, and nav2. That's the goal of today, is we can control those from the Foxtrot. Let's go into our controller setup. We'll choose the Foxtrot. We're going to go ahead and create from our basic controls. Now you can save this whatever you like. I'm going to save it as Foxtrot Comms. You could apply this to your current or typical settings for the Foxtrot, build on top of what you already have, but just for sake of today, I'm going to just call it Foxtrot Comms. All right, and then let's go ahead and show what's selected. And I just have some hat switch views applied, which shouldn't affect anything we're doing today. So we're looking good. It's a blank canvas. Let's go back to all, and we can start setting it. So let's choose the comms drop down. I guess I should have used 2 M's in my saving of this profile. Okay, we'll do that in the next video. But here are all the settings we can do. Now, if you look at decreased frequency fractional carry, there's that carry part at the end of some of these. We want to avoid those. So let's start off with increase COM 1 whole. And I want increase COM 1 whole to be button 22 and 24. So as I select where COM 1 is on the selector, that's button 22. And then let's confirm turning the dial clockwise, that's button 24. So selector 22, turning the dial 24, that's what we want to set this for. And that will increase our COM 1 whole frequency. All right, now let's do decrease COM 1 whole. That is going to be buttons 22 and 25. All right, and let's double check our work real quick. So as I'm looking at the standby Comm 1, as I turn my dial clockwise, it's increasing, decreasing. There we go. So that is working as I would like. We've got the whole frequency taken care of. Now let's do fractionals. Now again, as you'll see, there's the fractional frequency that has carry. That works against us. So anytime you see carry, just avoid that. Trust me, through my testing, it's not going to work. So decrease Comm 1 fractional has our shift key, button 17, and then everything we have down here, 22 and 25. So we're going to go ahead and set this to buttons 17, 22, and 25. Go right in here and select those three. And then let's do the same for increase Comm 1 fractional. That's going to be 17, 22, and 24. As you'll see, the decrease and increase are just the same as the wholes options. We just add that shift key /17 button to allow us to control the fractional frequencies. So there we go. Now I've got increase Comm 1 fractionally. And then lastly, let's go ahead and do Comm 1 swap. Now you'll notice there's two. There's this one in between what we've set, and then another one down here. I don't know why, but that second one is actually what works. So avoid the first one, or if you run into a bug, look for the second one, you'll be all set. Comm 1 swap is going to be button 22 and 26. All right, now let's check our work. So Comm 1 backup frequency, I can turn whole frequencies. Let's turn the smallers with our shift key. There you go. Let's turn it down, and then let's flip them. All right, it looks like we've got Comm 1 taken care of. Let's go do the same thing for Comm 2. So if you scroll down a little bit from this page, you're going to see a whole new batch of settings that are Comm 2 focused. So let's do the same thing. Decrease Comm 2 frequency whole. That is going to be buttons 23 and 25. And really this is just changing because now we've moved our selector to Comm 2, and that's where button 23 comes into play. All right, increase is going to be button 23 and 24. And now we're entering the boring phase of this video, or monotonous if you will, but it'll all make sense at the end. Fractional, let's go ahead and set decrease Comm 2 frequency fractional without that carry. We want to avoid that. That's going to be button 17, 23, and 25. Okay, we've got that set. Let's increase Comm 2 fractional. It'll be 17, 23, and 24. Check. Now let's do Comm 2 swap. And that's going to be buttons 23 and 26. Okay. Before we progress, let's check our work. Looking at Comm 2 down on the Garmin 430. All right, let's go ahead and move our whole numbers. There we go. Let's move our fractionals, holding our shift key. That's moving as I would like. Let's go ahead and flip them. All right, we're in business. So we've got comms taken care of. Let's move on to nav. You'll find that down here. Now you can apply this control for any of the categories you see here. So it's really up to whatever you'd like. Nav 1, let's do increase nav 1 whole. That's going to be button 21 and 24. And let's do decrease nav 1 whole, 21 and 25. And we're going to go fast on the second half just to speed it up a little bit. So we're doing the same thing we did in the first half. decrease nav1 fractional. Oh, let's avoid that carry. This is what we want. That'll be 17, 21, and 25. Let's do increase nav1 fractional. That's 17, 21, and 24. And then let's do the nav1 swap, which will be 21 and 26. All right, we've got all of nav1 set. Let's check it before we move to nav2. So as I'm looking at nav1 on our 530, let's turn the large dial. That looks good. Let's turn our fractional. There we go. We've got movement there. Let's change it from the active. All right, now let's flip them. Looks good. Nav1 is set as I would like. Let's take care of nav2 now. All right. Let's go to increase nav2 whole. That's going to be buttons 20 and 24. All right. Let's go to decrease nav2 whole. Buttons 20 and 25. Check. Let's go to decrease fractional. That's going to be 17, 20, and 25. Let's go to increase nav to fractional, which will be 17, 20, and 24. And then last but not least, nav2 swap. That'll be buttons 20 and 26. Okay, let's check everything out. So let's do nav2 down on our 430. So I turn the large dial. You'll see that's changing. Let's do shift small dial. There we go, fractionals, and let's switch them. All right. We've got it all taken care of. We have connected our Foxtrot radio dial to Comm 1, Nav 1, Comm 2, and Nav 2. So now with that little small button on our Foxtrot, we can control all of our radio stack. I think that's a very valuable way to get the Foxtrot set up and working with your flight simulator. When you pair the Foxtrot with the Honeycomb Bravo, which natively takes care of autopilot, you now have a very active way to take care of all your avionics. We hope this video helped you to get your Foxtrot configured. We thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.